Hi, I'm Anne Johnson-Devet and I work at Lloyds Banking Group in their cloud-enabled business transformation. Today I'm going to be talking about project managers, program managers and product managers. I'm going to talk you through these three roles and how they work in organisations. I'm going to be talking about some of the risks with these roles and I'm going to be talking about some of the key get-rights.
हाँ जी आपने ना वीडियो ऑन करा हुआ है।
So traditionally, companies have had project managers and program managers. However, increasingly over the last 10 years, particularly tech companies have introduced the role of product manager. So I'm going to step through these two models. So the first model is the traditional program manager. So most organisations have been operating under this model, where the project manager looks after the projects and the program manager looks after a collection of projects. What they do is essentially the same. It's just the scope of what they're overseeing, and where the project managers have to oversee a bunch of coders, testers, business analysts, product owner, particularly Scrum Master, etc. The program manager oversees a bunch of project managers generally. But as I said, they do the same thing. So they have to keep track of and manage scope, schedule, budget, resourcing, dependencies, risks, issues, assumptions, contingency, vendors, stakeholders, benefits, and governance. So the project manager keeps track of what's going on with the project. The program manager looks after the collection of projects. To give this, or to bring this to life, I will go through an example. So an example might be a major data migration. So the major data migration might involve moving a collection of applications from one place to another place. You might have a project manager responsible for each application. So a collection of project managers will be looking after each of the applications, one project manager to one application. And then you might have a program manager who's overseeing the entire migration and the migration of all of those individual applications, which is run by the project managers. So that's the traditional project and program manager model. Most folks should be familiar with that. Recently, we've had the introduction of Agile. I guess it's not that recent, actually. It's been probably 20 years, I'd say. So the introduction of Agile introduced the role of a Scrum Master, which could be similar to a project manager, and the role of a product owner. The way that I see a product owner is kind of like an Uber business analyst that's really focused on the product. But this is different to a product manager. So a product owner is like an Uber business analyst within a Scrum team. Product manager, I'm about to go through, is different, okay? So that's product owner, and we've also gone through project and program manager. So now I'll talk about product manager. So as I mentioned, over the last 10 years, it's become increasingly popular to have the role of a product manager, particularly in the tech companies, Google, Facebook, etc. So if you want to see if a company has adopted the product manager model, the easiest thing to do is to go to that company's website, look at their job board and do a search for product manager. If there's a lot of product manager roles available, then it's pretty certain that that organisation has adopted a product manager method. If there's none, then they haven't. But that's a very easy way to find out if a company has adopted a product management model. So the simplest way to think of a product manager is to think of them as the CEO of the product. And whilst I went through the things that a program and project manager is responsible for, scope, budget, schedule, resourcing, dependencies, risks, issues, assumptions, contingency, etc., the things that a product manager is focused on are more customer-centric. So the idea, the market that you're going to be using, the customer journeys, the business value, the features, the metrics, the success metrics and the key performance indicators, how you're going to go to market, your resources, your risks, your product life cycle as a whole, your requirements, your survey and any feedback, your competitors and any research. So you can see here that the product manager is much more focused on the customer, on the market, and on how that's going to work, versus the project program manager who's more focused on getting the stuff done. So documenting it out and getting it done. So there's slightly different models. So how they work is, so it's generally, as I mentioned, companies either got the project program manager method going on, or it's got the product management method going on, where you've got a project manager, a program manager, and a product manager. So the product manager, as I said, is responsible for those sort of customer-centric, where's the market, what's the customer, what's the product, what are the features, what are the requirements, etc. The program manager and the project managers are still responsible for the traditional scope, budget, schedule, risk issues, dependencies, etc. So that's the two predominant ways in which it works. And then obviously you've got Agile as well, where you've got Scrum Masters, product owners, coders, testers, etc. But that's for big programs, which often end up being waterfall or Agile, but with a strong business case. They're the two methods that you've got. So how do you decide which method to go for? So if your organisation is already using project and program management and it's not using product managers, then you may want to stick to the status quo and just follow the project program manager method, because your company probably already has a method in place. They've got the deliverables that you need to do, and you can just adopt that method. Everyone knows where they fit, everyone knows how it works, and you can just stay with that status quo, and that might be the right answer for you. If you want to break your status quo, good for you. Break the status quo. That's great. I guess just make sure that everyone's on board with respect to what you're doing, and that includes not just the folks that are in the program, but also the folks that are outside the program, making sure that they all understand how this is going to work, and what all the roles are and how they can interact with them. I guess if you want to move your whole company into a product manager method, then that's great too. There's lots of material available. There are courses, there's a lot of material on Google, YouTube, and you should be able to get enough material, enough data to be able to build your own method around product management. So that's what you could do. Either stick with the status quo, break the status quo, or shift completely over. Obviously, if your company's already using product managers, then you just go with that. You probably wouldn't go from a product manager model back to a project program manager method. Okay, so what are the risks? So the risks associated with using the project and program manager model, which is the one that most folks are using, and not using the product manager model, might be that you might not attract the best talent. So these days in tech, generally, folks who are leaders often want to be product managers, and they're not really that interested in being project or program managers. They really want that product management role in their CV. So if you're not adopting a product management role, that is a risk. Another risk, if you're adopting the project program manager method, is that you might not have the focus that you want on the customer. The product manager really focuses on the customer and the market and the product and the features. And if you want that extra special focus on that and a CEO of your product, then you might want to adopt a product manager model. The risk associated with adopting a product manager model is that it's not as mature as the project and program manager model. With project and program management, you've got renowned and recognised qualifications such as PMP and Prince2. With respect to product management, there are courses out there, but they're not quite as recognised, for example, as PMP and Prince2. So those are the risks with either model. And now we'll come to the get rights. So I think if you're going down the project and program manager method, or if you want to do the product manager method, regardless of which one you're doing, it's probably a good idea to have a look on Google, research as much as you can, find out what these three roles do, and make sure that the activities and deliverables of these three roles are covered off in whichever model that you choose. So if you're going to have a project and program manager method, make sure that the activities and deliverables that a product manager would do are somewhere covered in your method. Similarly, if you're going to be doing a product manager method, make sure that the product manager method includes everything that it needs to include. Doing this at the start of your program is what the system integrators call a method adoption workshop. So it's where you think about all of the deliverables and activities that you might need to do over the course of your program, and you adopt them into your plan and you select who's going to do what. So doing that with your eyes open with respect to both the project, or all of the project manager, the program manager, the product manager, activities and deliverables, means that you've got your eyes open, you're choosing the ones that you want to do, and you're consciously excluding the ones that you don't want to do, as opposed to unconsciously excluding them because you didn't know they existed. Again, as I mentioned, do consider the product manager model, because there is a chance that you'll attract better talent if you've got that particular role, because a lot of folks want to have that on their CV these days. And that's it. I've gone through the 3 roles: project manager, program manager, and product manager. I've gone through the 2 models, which is project and program manager, which is pretty traditional, and product manager, project manager, and program manager, which is more modern. And I've also gone through the risks associated with the 2 models, either going with the traditional project program manager model or going with the product manager model. And I've gone through some example get rights. So that's it. I'm Ange Johnson-Devet. Thank you very much for listening.